Conservatives before the Jussie Smollett attack. Chicago's got attacks happening in it all the time. It's the capital of black-on-black violence. Conservatives after you say the Osundara brothers attacked Jussie Smollett. Bull. Still got to keep covering the Jussie Smollett case because they're going to try to appeal that jury's verdict of guilty on 5 out of 6 counts. And this is not going away. And I still think that he's not guilty. So let's watch this. This is from CBS Chicago.
Smollett admitted to changing his stories to investigators.
Admitted to changing his story. Let's see.
Testified to initially identifying his attackers as white, but in later interviews said they were pale-skinned.
Oh, he changed his story from that they were white to they were pale-skinned. Well, as I've said before, what the hell is the difference? He didn't say they were pale-skinned black guys. I believe that he thought they were white the entire time until he realized that it was probably his trainers who attacked him. There's not a difference between pale and white unless you ask for more details.
Prosecutors asked if Smollett thought his hoax attack would be more credible if he was attacked by white men. Smollett responded, "You would have to ask someone who actually planned a fake hate crime."
Okay, to be fair, I just put that there because that's funny. He asked someone who actually planned a fake hate crime. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't answer your question about whether it would make more sense to say that a white guy did it if it was a black guy, or if I thought it was a black guy and black busy roasting your ass. Special Prosecutor Dan Webb asks Jussie Smollett, "You deny that you told the brothers to be there at 2 a.m.?" he asked, referring to the site of the attack. Smollett said, "That's a bold-faced lie." How could the brothers possibly know where Jussie Smollett was unless he told them where he was? I don't know, maybe because the attack happened 1 fucking block from his house. You know, I don't know if you know this, but if you want to beat someone up, you just wait outside their house until they start walking around. Okay? It's not that difficult. He walked to the Walgreens that was 2 blocks away, and then he came back. On his way back to his house, he went to the subway. They're all within 2 blocks of each other. It's not difficult to stalk someone within a 2-block radius. And no one else was out. Yeah, no one else was out, so no one else could have kicked his ass. Only people crazy enough to be high and want a sandwich, and who are from Chicago, grew up with these cold temperatures, go outside all the time, and was high at the time, and was hungry. Only someone like that, and some crazy violent guys who want to fucking put bleach and rope around a guy's neck. Those are the only kinds of people who would be out that late at night. That's why it's possible that this happened. I have to tell them where he was. They knew where he was. It was at his house. I just wanted to clarify something. Yes, I believe that Jussie Smollett is not guilty. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm not the only person who believes that Jussie Smollett is not guilty. Other people who believe Jussie Smollett is not guilty would include Jussie Smollett, his family, and his lawyers. And maybe other people who are afraid to voice their opinion because they would get lynched in front of their house. Yeah, by the way, Smollett was in front of his house when this happened. It's not difficult to stalk someone when they're not even going more than 2 blocks from their house and it's 2 in the morning and no one else is out on the street. It's very easy to follow someone and stalk someone when they're 1 block from their house. They didn't need this dry run that there's no evidence of. There's apparently, the jury was shown a video. We haven't seen the video. I haven't seen it. You haven't seen it, okay? The jury saw some video that we don't know if there's audio of, and it allegedly shows a dry run. Well, we can't prove that because we haven't seen it. And apparently there's a couple photos of Jussie Smollett hanging out with one of the Osundara brothers, or both, a few days before the attack. Apparently that's supposed to prove to us that a dry run happened. Does it? We don't know what they were talking about at the time. Maybe that was the night they were jacking off next to each other, okay? Testified that they were masturbating next to each other. We never found out if that really happened. It sounds like, to me, and probably Jussie Smollett would agree, I think, it sounds like they were friends right up until a day or 2 before the attack. Maybe even right up until the attack. Maybe he didn't realize that his trainers had roughed him up until right before or right as the cops got there. There's plenty of things that could still be true about this without negating, like nothing Jussie Smollett has said has been actually negated. Like, oh, he got convicted of lying to the police because he changed his story from white to pale. That's not a change. I am both white and pale at the same time. Am I changing my description about my own appearance and therefore I'm just a white pale motherfucker? This is like the Patton Oswalt joke where there's like a writer. They censor us. They always come in. They want to see the scripts. He's a comic to make sure things that make sense. And they point to, oh, well, in scene 1, she's eating peanuts, but on page 6, she's wearing a hat. Does that make sense to you? It's like, what is it about eating peanuts that makes it impossible to wear a hat in the next scene? I don't know why Jussie Smollett's detractors find this so difficult to understand, but just because Chicago is Democratic, run, Democratic stronghold, mostly Democratic voters, doesn't make it impossible to yell, "This is MAGA country." It doesn't make it impossible for a guy in a red hat to attack a black guy or just any individual, Jussie Smollett. See, I'm not saying that Jussie Smollett was attacked by a white guy. You guys are saying that you think the attack really happened, and that means that you think the Osundara brothers beat Jussie Smollett up. So if it was a fake attack, then why do you think that it was a real attack? Can you answer me in the comments whether you think it was a real attack or a fake attack? And why you would let your attackers actually hurt you if the attack was intended to be fake? You see, the essence of a fabricated attack is that it would be fabricated. You wouldn't pay someone to actually punch you in the face really hard unless you were a fucking insane lunatic. And I don't think that's what Jussie Smollett is. So back to my original point. Just because Chicago is mostly Democratic doesn't make it impossible to yell, "This is MAGA country," and then beat a guy up on the street. Like, I live in Waukegan. Waukegan is mostly Democratic voters. Check this out. This is MAGA country. See, that wasn't impossible. And if I wanted to, I could go down there and I could find a black guy and fucking beat him up. The fact that a place is not MAGA country doesn't make it impossible to yell MAGA country there. Think about that as long as you need to. I'll say it again. The fact that a place is not MAGA country doesn't make it impossible to yell that it is and then beat a guy up and put bleach on him and put a rope around his neck. Chew on that. Think about it as long as you need to. Okay? We live in a legal system where the cops, the lawyers, and the judges all hang out and golf and drink and smoke cigars with each other. If they want to frame a black guy for a crime, they can do it. If they want to frame 2 different black guys for a crime that happened, it's the same situation, they could do that too. I wouldn't put it past the police to frame the Osundara brothers if they wanted to. Here's some other things we're not discussing. This just came out. Jussie Smollett accused the brothers of trying to extort him for $2 million in exchange for their silence. Well, it seems to fit their pattern that I've analyzed from them, where they racketeer. They keep trying to get his money and rough him up and don't want to talk about it. Makes sense. Here's some more thoughts on Jussie Smollett.
We're not alone. The jurors apparently all agreed immediately that they knew disgraced Empire Star was guilty and that...
So what does it mean when you immediately decide that someone's guilty before you hear the facts of the case? Oh, that's called prejudice. That's called being prejudiced.
And why it was charged differently than the others. We were told it was aggravated because he said they were wearing a mask, but in all of Smollett's accounts of what happened, he mentioned a mask. If prosecutors had charged on all counts, they think they say, I think we would have found him guilty in all 6.
So there was a mask, is what they're saying. So don't you think that maybe that could have been the same black wool or cotton ski mask with eye holes that the Osundara brothers were filmed buying at the store next to the red hat that they bought? Jussie Smollett's team can't call Chicago prosecutor who dropped charges to the stand, judge rules. This is from last August. This is from 4 months ago, way before the trial. Before I even knew there was going to be a trial, to be honest. See, we all forgot about this case and we stopped focusing on it. I was surprised when I heard there was going to be a trial. But anyway, they can't call as a witness the prosecutor whose office dropped the initial charges. That would be interesting, because there's probably a reason why they dropped those initial charges. You remember when all of a sudden the charges against Jussie Smollett were dropped? And I was saying, oh, maybe it's because he's not fucking guilty. Oh, by the way, AR-15s found in the Osendauer brothers' home. Haha, that's kind of weird. Explain that.
There were too many instances in this case that Smollett didn't have credible answers for when he took the stand.
Oh, well, he doesn't have answers. He can't answer the question about why didn't your sandwich sustain damage when it fell 4 feet out of your arms onto the concrete. Maybe you didn't have an answer to that question because it's a stupid fucking question that has nothing to do with whether the fight happened in the first place or whether he commissioned it.
Jurors, in addition,
not being able to answer hours and hours of stupid questions doesn't mean you're guilty of something.
and she said the jurors weren't presented with any witnesses that backed Smollett's side.
Maybe that's because there weren't any witnesses at the street level.
We all wanted to hear from Frank. That's the person who called, his creative director. Frank is the person who initially called the police, allegedly against Smollett's wishes. Why didn't they call him?
So this guy asks, why did Frank call the police? I think it's because the fight and the attack did happen, because he had visible injuries that he would want to report to the police in case he needs to hold someone responsible for the damages. Now, why did Jussie Smollett not initially want his friend Frank to call the police? Because Jussie Smollett is afraid of the police. He didn't want the police to show up at his apartment building at 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for asking.
And the juror said the group felt he would have been able to provide critical details that might have given Smollett's testimony more weight. Frank was included on the defense list of potential witnesses, but was never called. Interesting, huh? I wonder why they didn't call him.
Maybe because the prosecution didn't want him to be called.
Ultimately, though, the jurors said they found the testimonies of brothers, the brothers who did it, who were paid, more credible than Smollett.
Speculation.
Though she added neither brother was thought to have been completely forthcoming by the jury. Their testimony, however, was backed up by police, she noted. That was in contrast to Smollett's defense, the juror said.
What was that?
Forthcoming by the jury, who were paid, more credible than Smollett. Though she added neither brother was thought to have been completely forthcoming.
Neither brother was thought to have been completely forthcoming. Sounds like whoever said that thinks the Osendauer brothers were lying or were at least holding back or hiding something.
By the jury. Their testimony, however, was backed up by police, she noted. That was in contrast to Smollett's defense, the juror said.
Their testimony is backed up by the police. You mean corroborated?
Had accused the brothers of seeking $2 million payout from the actor to change their story. Didn't sit well with the juror when they presented no evidence or testimony to back up that claim. That's
evidence doesn't exist of everything, guys. This is the New York Post, December 1st, 2021. Jussie Smollett trial witness says actor staged attack, wanted to be fake beat up. Now, as I keep saying, sorry to sound repetitive, but this video was shown to jurors that apparently shows them rehearsing a dry run. And apparently the text messages show they rehearsed a dry run. But you haven't seen the video, I haven't seen the video. Only the jurors have seen the video. And aside from the video, the only Osendauer brothers' statements that are being used to say, look, he explained that he wanted me to fake beat him up. Well, where's the proof? Look at that. Continuing the same article, see, the whole idea that this dry run took place rests on the idea that the Osendauer brothers' statements are completely true, and they can't all be proven. But this New York Post article is taking everything that they say, the Osendauer brothers, as gospel. Look at the way they phrase this. Smollett asked if Osendauer brothers could help and then explain his vision for the stunt. He explained his vision for the stunt. According to the guy who wrote this article, who is trusting the Osendauer brothers' word like it's gospel, he first told the brothers a specific word they wanted him to use. According to the Osendauer brothers, yeah, but what if they're lying? The Osendauer brothers said, thank you for specifying that it was them and it's not just the truth. He wanted me to punch him, but pull the punches. New York Post cover. Pull your punches, don't hurt me. Yell MAGA. And you search for the phrase pull your punches or MAGA, yell MAGA. It's not in the article. It's made up. It's a fucking show, guys. No one wants this guy to get found not guilty. Jussie Smollett thing is not a contest to see who can ask the most unanswerable, stupid questions. This is not a contest to see who can tell the best joke. A man's freedom is on the line. Look at the evidence. If the video of the dry run exists, send it to me.